unprivileged and happy. For some people, it's hard to understand something just by being told. You need to be shown, to experience it for yourself, to get a grasp of it. I'm one of those people. It's hard for me to really believe something until I could see it for myself. My parents always said how privileged I was compared to some people. A few years ago, I struggled to believe that for some reason. I know now that I am, and I'm thankful for everything. But there was a significant moment in my life that made that realization. I went to a mission trip 3 years ago with my church. That first year wasn't about my religion. It showed me how ignorant I was. My view of things changed forever. I remember first arriving at our sites in Nashville. Run-down children's facilities with mistreated kids and violence. But you notice that as soon as you step out of the car, all the kids run to you, excited that they have someone to hang out with. These are kids that have come here every single day because their parents can't be with them at home. Kids ages 4 through 17 that are unprivileged and sad. But when we get there, it all changes because they know that we're there to keep them company. As I walked through the place with my group, I saw their faces brighten with smiles, happy to have new friends that will play with them and talk to them. It made me realize how privileged I was, how much I had and how stubborn I could be sometimes. These kids had next to nothing, yet they still managed to smile and go on through the day and have fun. They would act as if they had known us forever. "Let's play tag," or "Let's play hide and go seek," they would yell. We would stay for 4 or 5 hours every day. It's funny, I never imagined making friends with a bunch of elementary kids. There was one boy in particular who grew very attached to me. His name was Ezekiel. He was an 8-year-old African-American boy with decent speech for his age. Every day we showed up, and he was the first one to drag me around the park and the gym. Racing, basketball, tag, you name it. We would even sing together. We would sing Hallelujah by Rufus Wainwright. He said he loved that song because he heard it in Shrek, and it was his favorite movie. This kid was more energetic than anyone I've ever met. He was kind, too. The nicest 8-year-old I've ever known. He shared anything and everything. I remember a little girl who dropped her lunch in the grass and started crying. Before I knew it, Ezekiel was right next to her and gave her one of his sandwiches. The girl stopped crying immediately. Then Ezekiel came back to me and continued to eat his lunch. I just sat there in shock, thinking to myself about how this 8-year-old kid was more generous than most people my age. One of the things we were encouraged to do was talk to the kids about their home life. I asked Ezekiel about his family, if he had any siblings, pets, if they went to church. I don't have a brother or sister or any pets. It's just me and my mom. I asked him where his father was, and his response was heartbreaking. I don't have a dad. He left us one day. He continued on to say how his mom worked every day of the week, even Sundays. He told me how he had to come here every day. All this broke my heart. But what he said next was the unbelievable part. But I'm still happy. I still have more than a lot of people, and I have a loving mom. So I have nothing to be upset about. An 8-year-old boy who had next to nothing taught me a lesson on the unprivileged. I felt sick to my stomach. I felt like a spoiled brat. How I complained to my parents about not going to McDonald's, or not getting a game, or not getting a cool pair of shoes. It was just pathetic. Ezekiel made me look back at all the things I had, how lucky I was, and how ignorant I was. I was shown how privileged I was by an unprivileged child saying how happy he was with what he had. All I used to say was, more this or more that, more. But that day, I realized I had enough. I didn't need any more. I should be happy with all the things I had. I have a nice house, TVs, great computers, and a loving family. Why wasn't that enough? I sat down in the grass after lunch and really thought about it, almost bringing me to tears. I kept to myself about it, because I didn't want to make him feel bad, like he did something wrong. I was shown how good I had it and how pompous I could act. When an 8-year-old boy with nearly nothing was happier with that than I was with what I had, it made me feel horrible about myself. He didn't just say that he was happy, he showed it. He was respectful to everyone, never mean or hateful. But the hardest part was saying goodbye to him. He asked if he'd ever see me again. I told him I didn't know for sure, but I sure hoped so. I told him he taught me a valuable lesson about myself. He didn't ask. He just smiled that smile he always had on his face. We embraced, and that was how we left. It was one of the most emotional moments of my life. I left that camp a different person. I looked on life in a different way. I came home and tried to change how I acted. I became more respectful towards my family and my peers. It made me want to be a better person. And, well, while I'm not the best person in the world for sure, I've definitely changed for the better. I can see when I do things that are wrong or rude, and I try to fix it. All this because of an 8-year-old boy named Ezekiel.